Hello everyone, this is Hart, and we're back with Dragon Force 2. And I'm excited to get this part out of the way because as soon as I do this part, I've actually gotten through all of the footage that I pre-recorded, so I can actually go back and play the game now and record some new footage. So, if you remember, we were going in to fight the monarch of Bozak, Gangas, who is actually the last of the 8 monarchs that we still need to get, I was going to say get rid of, but get to join us. Yay! Actually, I only just won that duel with Abert, so that was lucky. Okay, since Gangas is kind of their main guy, he has 70 bandits and 30 high beasts. I sometimes call them beastmen, high beasts, same difference. I think they were called beastmen in English, that's why I'm trying to call them that. So I'm gonna go in with Sanith. As I showed, I think in a previous battle, I'm gonna make use of Charm here. To give myself a real advantage in numbers. As you've noticed, Sanith doesn't have full health or MP. That's because it does take a while for that to recover. It recovers over time. Yeah, so I managed to charm their units before they even reached us, so I managed to get an extra 14, I think it was, units before they even managed to encounter us, so that gives us a definite advantage. So here I'm using Tokpa with my units. Tokpa is just advance, which means they'll go forward towards the general. Totsugeki is the last option, which is I think called melee in Dragon Force 1 in the translation, which is where once you use that command you can't give them any other commands, but it means that they'll first attack any enemies left on the screen and then go for the general. And the skill that Gangas just used I think is called Earthquake, just let me check. Oh no, sorry, it's Gaia Break. Gaia Break can freeze units that are on the ground, so they get stuck and can't move. I'm pretty sure aerial units are immune to it, but it can be quite useful if you can combine it with a spell like Undine or Salamander or any of those ones that attack units that surround your general. You'll notice there's sort of some of my horsemen have little rocks at their feet. Those are people that have been frozen in place. You can kind of get around it if you've got ranged units, because even if they get frozen in place a couple of steps away from the general, they can still attack. But actually, wait, I think they can't attack. Anyway, it's not too big of a threat. Let me quickly read you Gangas's biography. He's a direct descendant of Gangas. He's been brought up in the knowledge that he'll be taking over the throne, and has been brought up as such. And his aide is Seth. Now I have to be careful because I'm doing this and this should take 15 minutes and then I've got muesli in the oven, so I have to do it and then not forget to go and turn it over. It needs to be turned over once and then I'll give it another 10 minutes after that. We make our own muesli here, so I've had a very productive day actually. I've done a bunch of these videos, I've done some translation, some more Dragon Force 2 translation. Yeah, I think I've only got basically 1.5 more files of dialogue to go through, so we're making good progress there. So I'm quite happy with how much work I've done on that. And then, what else did I do? I did a little bit of work, which, wow, is totally unheard of for me. I need to do a lot more, but I cleaned my room, Yay! And then I put some muesli in case you're wondering, our muesli recipe is just about 500 grams of oats, like rolled oats, or I think they're called steel oats in Scotland and stuff. 2 tablespoons of honey, a tablespoon of oil, which sounds gross, but you have to have it, otherwise it all sticks together and is not very nice. And then basically anything else you want to add to it. I put a ton of cinnamon, chop up some almonds and put that in. I wish I didn't have to chop them up because I'm really lazy, but we can only get whole almonds here. And we have sunflower seeds, so I put that in as well. And then I usually, once it's come out of the oven, I put raisins in it, or sultanas or whatever. If you put the raisins in before you put them in the oven, the raisins tend to burn. So then you put that all on a baking tray, mix it all up, and then stick it in the oven at about 160, which is a fairly cool oven, 160 Celsius, for about 20-25 minutes, and you stir it around halfway through. I think 160 is probably something like maybe 330, 320 in Fahrenheit. I'm not exactly sure. I think 180 is 350, so that's what I'm going by. But if you live in America land, you'll have to check that. But we can't get nice muesli here, so we have to make our own, which I suppose is a good thing because you know exactly what's going in it and you can make it pretty healthy and stuff. Because a lot of cereal you buy in the shops has a lot of sugar in it. Well, I mean, lots of them you expect them to have sugar in, but some of them, like, they bill themselves as being really healthy and actually they're full of sugar. So this way we can just put honey in. I mean, you could leave the honey out, but it'd be kind of bland. Yeah, so we can't really buy muesli where my parents live, so my mum likes to make it herself, and when I'm around I try to make it for her. Anyway, so that's my domestic exploits for the day. If you remember, one of the units in the cat's crucifix in this castle up to the north actually escaped. We didn't manage to catch her, so she's back. That's Belize, but you'll notice she has barely any life, barely any MP, and no units, so this is kind of a non-event. I'm just going in with Kitty because she has no units either, but is a lot stronger, so it'll just go straight to a duel, and she should surrender straight away. Yep, there we go. So, an annoyance more than anything else. Okay, so that's that turnover, and we're going to go into the domestic phase. Because we're occupying so many castles, it takes so long to scroll through all of these when people are searching in their castles at the end of each turn.
負けたよ。どうにでもしてくれ。
さすが豪の者と聞こえたガンガス王。潔いですな。
やるだけのことをやって負けちまったなら仕方ねえ。
王様、お立ちください。私たちはお願いがあってきたのです。
あ？お願い？ボザックの森をくれと言ってもやらないぜ。
違います。そんなことではないのです。
じゃあ宝石か？ボザックは鉱山がたくさんあるからな。
宝石？
アグネス。
失礼しました。宝石と聞いてつい。お父様を探しているのです。
あんたの親父？ボザックにはいないぜ。
わかっています。お父様の行方を知っているかもしれないティリスさんを助けるために協力してほしいのです。
ややこしい話だな。ではボザックへの侵略の意思はないと？
はい、ありません。
これっぽっちも？
全然。
セス、どう思う？
はい。この少女の瞳は信用できると。
そうか、わかった。協力させてもらうぜ。
ありがとうございます。
I quite like that little cutscene. Gangas is basically like, oh, okay, I stand defeated, do what you want with me. And Sanith's like, oh, no, it's okay, we don't want to like, kill you or anything, we just want your cooperation, we want you to help us. And then he's like, oh, so you, like, what do you want from me? If you want Bozak's forests, I won't give them to you. And she's like, no, I don't want the forests. And then he's like, okay, do you want jewels? We've got lots of mines. And then when he says jewels, Agnes is like, jewels? And then everyone's like, Agnes? And she's like, oh, sorry. I just heard the word jewels and was like, oh. And then Sanith like explains to Gangas, he's like, actually, I'm looking for. She's like, actually, I'm looking for my father, and explains the situation and that she wants Bozak's help. And he's like, okay, that sounds pretty complicated, but sure thing, I'll help you. So yeah, I don't know, it's kind of neat. Agnes is really funny. She's like the maths teacher in Tradnor, so there are a lot of dialogue events that involve her being just really mean. Like there's one where you bump into a villager and the villager's like, oh my god, it's Agnes, run away. And she's like, why are you running away? Oh wait, did you do bad in a test? And the villager's like, yes. So I don't know, it's a pretty funny little sideline. There's a whole bunch of little funny side stories that go on in Dragon Force 2 actually, like Barley's little romance with Amanda and stuff. I think it does a good job of fleshing out the story a bit and making, because there are something like 150 characters, and if none of them had any backstory at all, it would be pretty dull. They'd just be different portraits. So I like that they all have a little bit of extra story behind them. It's quite nice. And the characters aren't just random. A lot of the characters are either related to someone else or have history with some of the other characters or form their own factions and things. As I mentioned before, I'm reading all of these and translating everything from the official guide that I have, the Sega guide, which just mentions has a short little blurb on each of the characters in the biography. But I think if you didn't own this, as I mentioned, it doesn't mention any of these things in the instruction booklet, and biographies aren't in-game. You can't view them in-game. So unless you were to buy it, I'm not really sure how you'd know any of these things. Obviously the producers, when they made the game, in designing the game, they made all of these relationships and designed the characters as such. So it just seems strange to me that they wouldn't, if they went to the trouble of designing and creating all of these links between the characters, that they wouldn't actually present them to the gamer in any way. But I could be mistaken. If anyone knows where in-game you can access any of that information, then do let me know. Okay, so now that we've got all 8 monarchs on our side, you might think, well, what next? You can advance the story. There is something that needs to be done in Moon Palace, if I remember correctly. But before you do that, we can actually do side quests. Yeah, everyone loves side quests. They're all optional, but basically you can recruit a few extra people. And now is also a good time if you want to level up your monarchs, you can do that. And you can go sort of spelunking for materials in the caves and fight Doggo. So if you do that, you can level up your generals at the same time if you want, and it'll help you synthesize things, especially if you've been having trouble finding scrolls. Some of the scrolls for the stronger units, like Hawkmen and the Undead and things like that. Now would be a good time to spend some time synthesizing them, because there are no other threats on the map. Once you advance the story, once you complete a few more little story related events, then you'll have more people to fight on the map. So if you want to take the time to build up your guys, synthesize, now is a good time because there are no real threats to you otherwise. The side quest that I'm going to be focusing on next, I don't think I'm going to fit in this part, I'll have to put it in the next part, is, actually I don't want to tell you, it's a surprise. It's pretty neat. In Dragon Force 1, there were 2 of this kind of character available to you, but actually there's only 1 in Dragon Force 2. So we're going to go and recruit him pretty soon. I hope that's not too obtuse, too obscure, but, I like to keep you hanging. Okay, I'm gonna go away and actually play some more Dragon Force. I'll get it recorded, and when I do, then I'll get some more Dragon Force 2 parts up for you. So, again, thanks for watching. I've been Hart, and happy November.